show up to those budget meetings. Like nobody ever shows up to budget meetings and make make these statements so they understand. I certainly find, as Commissioner Flo alluded to, does have the ability to fund law enforcement vessels, and we have done that. We've actually increased the amount that we fund to law enforcement vessels. What are we at now?
We're now at 125,000 per vessel.
125 per vessel. Right. So that type of funding can be used for a lot of different things, like FLIR systems, which allow the police to see at night. Better technology. I don't know if you're aware, but up until recently, Miami-Dade Marine Patrol did not have any computer system on board their vessels in order to make citations. So they had to go through a very lengthy and inefficient process to write a uniform boating citation. We offered to pay for half the cost to adopt new technology that would make that unnecessary, that would make the process more efficient, but they didn't take us up on that. And my understanding from meeting with the Chief of Public Safety Officer this week is that they are doing it on their own. So that's something good. One of the commenters. So anyway, with respect to law enforcement, I mean, certainly we are very supportive of law enforcement. We had the Mount Harbor Police at our event last night. They were very supportive. We're very thankful for the support we've given them, and we'll continue to provide as much support as we're asked to law enforcement. Regarding the spoil islands, we have a small-scale spoil island restoration grant program that local governments have not used in Miami-Dade County. This budget year, we have $60,000 that can be used to help clean up, maintain spoil. The city hasn't come for it, the county hasn't come for it. We've asked them to come for it. They're not doing it. So please, convince them to come for it. This is the best match out there. The city or the county or the state DEP pays $2,000, and they can use that. They can come up with that $2,000 in staff time. They don't have to come up with the money. Once they do, we'll provide $20,000, and that money can be used for trash cleanup on the spoil islands. A lot of different types of activities. So we can't go and spend that money on our own. We have to have an applicant come to us, so we need that to be done. There's a lot of complaining and not a lot of using the resources that are available, and that's a shame. That's a real shame. And I guess the last thing on this Morningside Islands, we do not support vessel exclusion zones, generally speaking. The way this issue came up to us was not through a request for a conversation, not through a request for our experience about how we've handled this in the past. It was put on the agenda, and a mandate essentially for a vessel exclusion zone around an island where there was at the time, no support for that or no evidence that indicated any sort of environmentally significant condition of that island. We just don't support things like that, and that's just the way we don't think it's good public policy. We have in the past, as one of the speakers alluded to, one in Volusia County, one in Martin County, helped those local communities, helped Audubon with the support of FWC, designate certain islands as critical habitat. We have provided the necessary authorization in for that process to get underway. And it's not a process that we run. We don't designate critical habitat, but we can have a role in authorizing it if we have a right to the island, a property right to the island. In those cases that we have worked, and we've been very successful in allowing public access to continue, but we've also been successful in protecting the birds. And at one island, specifically in Martin County, the island was eroding, and so all of the trees that were providing nesting habitat and forage and protection were being washed into the waterway. So not only did we help with the process of designation, but we provided money to support efforts to control the erosion, reduce the wave action on the islands, and stabilize those islands so they could continue to persist for wildlife into the future. Those are the types of efforts that we're comfortable with and that we will support. If a local government chooses on their own policy decisions to do something different and to try to enact exclusion zones that we don't believe are warranted, we as a board will make a decision about how we direct our grant funding. We as a board direct our grant funding to communities who are generally supportive of our mission, which is to provide public access to the waterway in a safe and responsible manner. This board will never do anything to impede safety or responsible voting. It's just not something that we'll do. So we have discussed this with people who are willing to discuss it with us. Warren from Audubon asked me to come down to their facility. I think we had some productive discussions, and we're certainly willing to continue in that regard in a way that we, as a board, believe makes sense. So I guess with that, I would ask if staff could prepare maybe like a briefing document for those two islands that we've worked with in Volusia County and in Martin County, just so I have something that I can provide some of these folks that explains how we did that, what the result is, just a simple briefing document. I'll get that to you. I think, Lauren, that'll be helpful for you as you continue your monitoring. So, okay, so with that, yes, sir.
Just one quick comment for the folks here. Pending, this is a list of pending grants that we'll be reviewing next month. But the city of Coral Gables is asking for $125,000 for a new patrol vessel. The city of Miami is asking for $20,500 to replace engines on a police boat. So the issue is well, also, Morningside Park, Living Shoreline and Trails Phase 2, Part 2 is asking $1,681,979. That's the grant request. So, this is something you might want to focus on. Is the issue is unless local government asks for grant funding, they're not going to get it. So, for instance, and addressing the issue of drones, I was really intrigued by your comment about that, because obviously the military is really looking at drones.
Yeah, we're working with the DoD.
Yes, well, we had a grant request from a law enforcement agency that wanted to purchase a drone system to test using it for law enforcement. I can't speak for my fellow commissioners, but I certainly would look favorably at that. So we're here to work.
And that's something that we certainly could cover with our existing law enforcement grants.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I know we've got to move on with the agenda. I just want to say we've had a lot of speakers over the years, and maybe not this many, but we certainly have never had this many well-spoken speakers. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Everybody's very prepared.
Commissioner Williams.
May I suggest that one of the places you go to work is with the manufacturers of jet skis and outboard motors? there is a thing that there are limiters on speed that you can purchase, and I don't know whether it's through the original equipment manufacturer or it's an add-on. But it's a speed limiter, and it will count the number of hours that speed will be limited for. And it seems to me it would be an ideal way for enforcement. If a guy gets arrested, you fine him $1,000, but also put in a 100-hour speed limiter where he can drive his jet ski around at 7 miles an hour any place he wants to do it for the next 100 hours. And that transfers with the jet ski. So that he can't say, well, I sell that and I'm buying a new speed one. The guy that's buying it is gonna buy the remainder of the hours at 7 miles an hour. And I gather that same kind of limiter can be pushed on fuel injection outboard motors. And when I saw yesterday that 5 450 horsepower engines on the back of a 50-foot center console for $2.5 million and have those things tearing up and down the bay at 75 miles an hour. That's an accident and a killing on its way to happen. So carry on, guys.
And so this outline that we had sort of talked about with the mayor and some folks this week really focuses on voter education, increased law enforcement, and waterway management, which looks at designated zones for certain types of things. Local knowledge is important, and this accident happened in a very heavily congested area, which, if you ask any voter, which place south of Rickenbacker you wouldn't want to be water skiing in, this is the area that most people would point to. So there are, everybody has to use caution and reason and common sense, and so hopefully we'll work towards that. Thank you all for coming, appreciate your comments. I think we'll move on from public comment, and